Patreon.com/the Walk-Off Podcast. $4 a month gets you in there. Vladdy's contract status, Craig. It's been a topic this offseason. Blue Jays on tour, their winter tour. He did mention specifically no contract talks have happened this offseason. I'm not necessarily surprised with it. I want to get your thoughts on it. But before we do, I'll just say I feel like at this point, if a deal hasn't been done, we're going to play this out till the bitter end. That's not to say a deal can't get done. I mean, we just saw the Yankees sign Aaron Judge long-term in the walk year of his deal. I don't necessarily think we're going to go that far, but I don't think there's any chance a deal happens in the near future. Now, we do get a lot of comments, a lot of questions complaining about this front office, and I know you're a believer in the Shapiro-Atkins, so am I. But a lot of frustration from the fan base looking at the year that Vladdy had, right? A quote-unquote down year, right? And like if you finish second in MVP votes, no doubt you're going to have a regression the next year, right? It's almost inevitable. Still a good year by 99% of players' measurements. Would love to have the season Vladdy just had. 32 home runs. Really great year from Vladdy, let's be honest. But the fans that I'm seeing in the comment section, that I'm seeing on Twitter, that I'm seeing on Instagram are frustrated that, look, this is the absolute low of Vladdy's career trajectory. I mean, that's the optimistic take. And that this is the time to get a deal done, right? He is at his lowest. This is the most leverage we will have to go ahead and get a deal done. I tend to think Vladdy's value as a big leaguer is established at this point. It is what it is. Okay, we've seen the potential of what he can be, right? MVP caliber player offensively, literally a Gold Glove winner at first base now. I don't think anything he does can increase his value, and maybe I'm wrong there, but let's say he hits 63 home runs this year. Is the front office really going to be like, you know what? Yeah, you are worth $450 million because we just saw you hit 63. We know you could do it. I'm already to the point where if Vladdy had a 60 home run season, I wouldn't be surprised at some point in his career, right? So what can he do this season to increase his value? Or what can he do to decrease his value? Because for me, the value's set. You know, we need both sides to come together and agree on what that value is. But I think both sides have already made up their mind. I think Vladdy knows what his value is in his head. Shapiro-Atkins know what a realistic value or what their budget for him is. And we just need the two sides to come together. Mm-hmm. But is there anything that can happen in 2023 specifically that can change either side's opinion of this deal?
Wow, that's such a great question. The way you word it could change either side. I don't think can change either side, but can maybe perhaps solidify either side is maybe the way I would put it. If Vlad does get back to being, those video game numbers, because my issue with Vlad's season last season when he didn't even hit 300, and there's just no way in my mind that Slim Daddy Vladdy is a below 300. For me, that was unacceptable. But some of the power numbers and some of the other production's fine. I just think if he has a monster season, it's just going to reconfirm what the Blue Jays already thought, and they would already have that number in mind. I think, to your point, a lot of fans think, if he has a monster season, now the Blue Jays will be scrambling to figure. I think the Blue Jays are well aware what an extension for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to look like. I think that something coming in play here was how wonky 10, 11, 12, 13 years the deals were this offseason. So if anything, perhaps the Blue Jays are waiting to go ahead and calm that down, because for all we know, the Blue Jays are looking way more along the lines of a 5-year team-friendly deal that gets Vlad back on the market as he's going in his prime. Like for all we know, something like that is in play. But yet could anything happen this season that changes anything? I don't think so. Slim Daddy Vladdy could have a monster season, which just reaffirms for the Blue Jays, yeah, this guy is top dollar. Where I firmly disagree with a lot of the Blue Jay fans right now, because I see those comments in that as well, that there's so many of them that are almost acting as if This is news to Shapiro and Atkins. Like they need to be reminded. Oh, of course. So by rules, Vlad's not just with us forever. We'll have to re-sign him by contract. Oh my, no. They and even Vlad saying those official conversations haven't happened. That certainly doesn't mean the Blue Jays don't have their game plan, completely intact. You opened by saying, I know you have confidence in Shapiro and Atkins. So this is just another example, Adam, where I have confidence that when it's the right time to do it, Slim Daddy Vladdy will be re-upped with. I've been on the walk-off for upwards of 2 years now saying there is no re-up coming with Bo Bichette. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I will be stunned beyond anything if he is not a Blue Jay for at least a solid decade of his career, if not a Blue Jay, period. Like for his entire career. That would really surprise me one way or the other. I don't think that's in the cards at all for him to be elsewhere. And the whole idea of that they haven't approached, I think that's Vlad just answering that question. Vlad is, for the fans who think that Vlad would be insulted, be upset by his buddy Teo and Lourdes being traded, be upset by no re-up yet. Slim Daddy Vladdy grew up in baseball locker rooms. He is as well-versed as anybody, literally as well-versed as any player in all of baseball when it comes to the business of this sport. So I don't think he'll be taking any of this personally at all. I think Senior will be telling him, you're looking for that 10-year deal. What work did you put in today? What work did you put in yesterday? What's your plan like tomorrow? I think it'd be a baseball family and a baseball mindset to go out there and prove it. We saw that, Adam. He moved over to first base, kicking and screaming. He wanted to be the third baseman. What's he do? He goes over to first base. He works. You just said Gold Glove winning first baseman. So I get the drama of it all. It's a dramatic story. Yes, I do. But ultimately, I think it's such a dramatic story because there's some Blue Jay fans, a lot of Blue Jay fans perhaps, who think that Shapiro and Atkins might blow this to the point where there is no long-term extension with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And that would absolutely stun me.
I'm with you. I'm not sure I'm with you on Bo Bichette. I do still think that there is a way, an outside track to that, both of these guys staying long term with the team. I can't see a path in which both of them are gone 4 seasons from now. 2027, where we enter 2027 without either of them, I just can't. I can't wrap my mind around that. As far as the frustrations that we haven't gotten a deal done, I think that this is a little bit of all the moves that we made this offseason, bringing in Chris Bassett, bringing in Dalton Vart, like all the additions we made still line up with having money available for Vlad and maybe Bo.
Great call.
When it is absolutely time to re-up. And we've seen deal after
money
deal.
Coming off the books.
We've seen deal after deal. We got Springer's contract's going to be coming to a close. All these deals have been built around we need money available for Bo, for Vlad and potentially Bo and however you view that. But for these kids come the 2026 offseason, there wasn't a single move this off. We didn't sign Carlos Rodon to a big 7-year ugly deal that was going to paint us into a fiscal corner. Everything was about making this team better now, but not handcuffing us. So
great point.
I love that. And I think what this is doing is this is capitalizing on the fact that, look, we can get these guys for cheap right now. Like we can have Bo at a team-friendly deal just via the arbitration process, right? Essentially, what is it, $15 million or something like that he just got? That's a team-friendly deal. It's a 1-year team-friendly deal. We're getting an absolute discount on a potential MVP for $15 million. And guess what? We're also getting a potential MVP season from Bo at like $5 or $6 million, $5 or $7 million dollars,
whatever it's going to be,
wherever the arbitrator decides. The alternative is blow our wad on them right now, I guess, and then not have that flexibility. This is, I guess, me toting the company line for Shapiro and Atkins, but this is capitalizing on the value of young players. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that.
And Adam, I almost think you prefaced it by saying toting the company line, because you can already see that's what some of the comments are going to be, and I just don't agree
Yeah.
with it at all. I think it's accurate. I think it's completely accurate, toting or not. I think it's completely accurate. Absolutely, these guys will have a game plan going forward. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I totally. That's a great point you make about, hey, Craig, I don't think it's an accident. The length of these contracts right now, I don't think are an accident. There's a lot of money about to be freed up when it is going to be go time for Vlad and potentially Bo as well. No, I totally agree. The one thing that would end up being a complete failure, as high as I am on the Shapiro and Atkins era, can you imagine if the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. era comes and goes in Toronto and there is no World Series championship? That really would be a failure. So my point being, the Shapiro and Atkins, they need to be monitoring the Toronto Blue Jays. They need to be in charge of the Toronto Blue Jays, not the 2023 Toronto Blue Jays, not just Vlad's extent. Like they need to be. That was Shapiro's issue with Alex Anthopoulos. That was the big fight they had the one time they met in what was it, September of 2015, I think. The one time they had that big argument apparently in the hallway of their offices there, when Shapiro was just saying, man, how could you have made all those? You weren't in charge of the 2015 Toronto Blue Jays. You were in charge of the Toronto Blue Jays. Now I've walked into an organization that you've gutted. You've put it all into the. So Shapiro and Atkins, I definitely have confidence in what they're going to do going forward, and that's my bottom line on this. When the time is right for the Vladimir Guerrero extension, that's precisely when it'll take place.
Here is an alternate universe for you. There's an alternate universe in which we went the Atlanta route. We offered these guys big long-term contracts fresh off their rookie seasons, right? And I think a lot of Blue Jays fans are still Alex Anthopoulos fans.
Yes,
they see what he does in Atlanta, and they're frustrated we haven't done the same thing. We are a competitive balance tax team as it stands right now, right? We're over the threshold. In this alternate universe in which we just gave Bo and Vladdy $25 million a year over the next 15 years or whatever the case may be. So in 2023, we're paying them a combined $50 to $60 million as opposed to a combined $20 million. That's an extra $30 million on the books that is no longer available for adding a Chris Bassett, for adding a Brandon Belt. So if that's the team you want, is to have the same team we have today, minus Chris Bassett, minus Brandon Belt, but comfort in knowing that these two kids are locked up long term. I guess that's the alternate reality. Am I crazy with that? Connecting those dots?
I love that point. And I'll take it one step further. You say, well, then there'll be no Bassett, there'll be none of these additions. And the team is what it is. And I'll take it one step further, Adam. That includes the trade deadline then. If you've blown all the money you just told me they've just blown and already are in the now that's $30 million on paper added. That's $30 million plus whatever the escalator is from the collective bargaining tax. So it's even more than 30 million. By the way, that's 30 million US dollars. I know fans don't want to hear it, but Blue Jays make money in Canadian dollars. That is part of this equation. Like that, seriously, that is part of this equation. But absolutely not. I'm right there with you on that. It would mean that no additions this offseason, but I tell you, it would also mean no money for any additions at the trade deadline. Blue Jay fans are upset now. Can you imagine, Adam, if there was no improvements made at the trade deadline? This fan base will be screaming bloody murder. So that alternative universe you described, it exists, and I'm not happy with it.
Well, walk-off community, I hope you enjoyed that little clip. This full episode is going to be available on our main channel sometime in the next few weeks. However, if you can't wait for that, you can get the full episode right now available on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/the Walk Off Podcast.